What if your acid reflux isn't just from spicy food or stress? What if the real cause is hidden? Things doctors don't always check for, like an overgrowth of Candida, H. pylori, or bile reflux after gallbladder surgery. In this video, I'll break down the 3 hidden causes of acid reflux most people never hear about and what you can do about them. Most people think acid reflux is caused by too much acid. That's why acid blocking drugs are some of the most common drugs in the world. But here's the truth. Reflux is a symptom, not a root cause. And in thousands of cases, the root cause is actually one of 3 hidden issues: Candida overgrowth, an H. pylori infection, or bile reflux from gallbladder surgery. Hidden cause number 1. Candida overgrowth. Candida is a yeast that naturally lives inside your gut and all over your body. It's a normal part of our microbiome, the collection of bacteria and fungi and archaea that live in and around our system. But things like antibiotics, heavy sugar diets, and weakened immune systems allow it to grow and thrive. Candida produces gas and toxins that exert pressure from inside the stomach, forcing that lower esophageal sphincter valve open and allowing the acid to come from the stomach up into the esophagus, where it causes the burning. How to know if Candida is your problem? If you have fungal issues, fungal toenails, fungal fingernails, athlete's foot, dandruff, thrush, a white coating on the tongue that doesn't seem to go no matter how much you scrape, or reflux that flares up after carbs or sugar, coffee, chocolate, alcohol, then a Candida overgrowth is almost certainly your root cause problem. Supporting your body with antifungal herbs like yeast purge will help kill the overgrowth of yeast and build up your beneficial bacteria at the same time to control the remaining yeast. If yeast is your underlying issue, you should find this clears up your problem completely. Hidden cause number 2. H. pylori infection. H. pylori, or Helicobacter pylori, is a bacteria that primarily infects the lining of the stomach. In fact, more than half the world has H. pylori, but not everybody has symptoms. But in some people who do have symptoms, it causes inflammation. It changes stomach acid levels by reducing them and even damages the lining of the stomach. The result? Acid reflux, ulcers, and even in some cases, stomach cancer. The biggest problem by far with H. pylori is the testing. It is very often missed. The gold standard of medical testing for H. pylori is a biopsy taken while you're under an endoscopy. But the science says you need to be off your PPI medication for at least 15 days in the build-up towards the endoscopy, otherwise you have a 56% chance of a false negative. Another big problem with H. pylori testing is that it's just a snapshot at that current time. You could then pick it up further down the line, especially if you're taking PPI medication, which lowers your stomach acid and increases the chance of you catching H. pylori. Clues for H. pylori include stomach pain, chronic acid reflux, nausea, or stomach ulcers. In our clients, we use pylori, which was designed specifically to not only kill and reduce the H. pylori populations, but also to reduce the inflammation that it causes. This will eventually allow your stomach to recover. Hidden cause number 3, bile reflux. Here's one that almost nobody talks about: bile reflux. Now, normally your liver produces a substance called bile and stores this inside your gallbladder. Now, when you eat a large fatty meal or a meal that contains fats, your gallbladder squirts out bile into the small intestine to take those larger fat globules and break them down into smaller ones. But if you've had your gallbladder removed, bile can drip back up inside the stomach. When that bile drifts back up into the stomach and sometimes even into the esophagus, it can interfere with that lower esophageal sphincter and allow the acid to come up. Both the bile and the stomach acid can interfere with that lower esophageal sphincter, causing all of your traditional acid reflux problems, as well as the silent reflux issues like a lump in the throat sensation or difficulty swallowing, throat clearing, dry cough, or lots of phlegm and mucus buildup. Some signs of bile reflux includes reflux that doesn't respond to acid lowering medication, if you're vomiting yellowy greeny fluid, or your reflux is worse after fatty meals. This one will be something for you to speak to your doctor about. They can use scans to check what's going on. In our clients, we use supplements like ox bile and lipase to improve the digestion of fats. In fact, we made a whole course called Bile Acid Reflux. I will leave it in the description below. Interactions and overlaps. Now here is the tricky part. Some of these can overlap. It is absolutely possible that you can have both a H. pylori bacterial infection and a Candida overgrowth at the same time. Or H. pylori can cause gallstones, requiring the removal of your gallbladder, in which you end up in a worst case scenario where you still have the H. pylori and also now you don't have a gallbladder. This is often why we see people feel a little bit better sometimes when they attack one of these problems, but they never truly get completely fixed until they attack both of the issues. So when should you look deeper and to see whether you have some of these issues? I would say immediately. Remember, acid reflux medication doesn't fix your problem. It simply buys you time to figure out your true underlying cause by suppressing your acid temporarily. If you're actually trying to fix your problems, here is exactly what I would do. Step 1. Don't ignore symptoms. Speak to your medical team about H. pylori testing or stool testing for Candida. If you've had your gallbladder out, consider bile reflux as your root cause problem. If these tests aren't available to you, it might be a good idea to try something to rule out the issues. For example, if you're worried that you have H. pylori or you'd like to rule it out, you can try a pylopurge for a couple of months to rule out H. pylori as being your real problem. Step 2. Start with the basics. If there are certain foods that are triggering you, then please remove them. There is no point in aggravating and irritating the area with foods if you know they cause you a problem. It's going to make your healing harder. I made a recent video about exactly what I did to overcome acid reflux, and it has a lot of lifestyle tips. You will see this video here and I'll link it in the description below. Step 3. Explore targeted support. Once you've narrowed down whether you have an H. pylori issue or a Candida issue or a bile reflux problem, then you're able to take something specifically to help that particular problem. So remember, acid reflux isn't caused by too much acid, it's caused by acid in the wrong place. The question is, what is interfering with the lower esophageal sphincter directly, or creating pressure inside the stomach, allowing the acid to come up? If you don't know where to start, we made a free quiz for you to try to narrow down exactly what is causing your problem. Head to myacidrefluxquiz.com and we've linked it in the description below for that free quiz to narrow down what's most likely to be your issue so you can actually start to get to the root of your problem. If you found this video useful, please share it with somebody who thinks that acid reflux is caused by too much acid, a hiatal hernia, and that they have to be on omeprazole for the rest of their lives. And in the comments below, tell me, have you been tested for any of these hidden causes? How did you get on? I'll see you guys in the next one.